Hello, we're Biscuiteers, the original hand-iced biscuit company, and each year we ice around 3 million biscuits by hand. And today we'll be showing you how to ice our Paddington Birthday Collection in celebration of his 65th birthday. You will need the following biscuits, piping bags, and some squeezy bottles. Of course, the amount depends on how many colours you decide on. Let's start with Paddington's favourite possession, his marmalade jar. For this biscuit, we take our line icing and trace the outside of the biscuit in white, as well as the lid of the jar. We will also trace across the middle of the biscuit for the label, so people know that it's marmalade. We then take our white flood icing and flood that middle section, as this will be the label. And we then take our orange flood icing and flood the two areas surrounding the label, and we will also add grey flooding to the lid. We then let this flood icing dry for around 30 minutes on a low setting in the oven. We usually go for around 50 degrees Celsius. Once dried, we can use the line icing to create details, like we can see here. We use the white line icing to define the label more and go in with our grey line icing to create detailing on the lid. It's details like these that help us make the biscuit more 3D than 2D. Now, here comes the tricky part. We need to write the word marmalade on the label. We would recommend practicing this on a piece of baking parchment beforehand. Even draw the label out so you know that you can fit everything inside the box. Just take things really slowly and think of the piping bag like a pen. We also added a few line details onto the bottom of the label for effect, but you can add whatever you fancy. Maybe if you're feeling really brave, you could add an orange or two. And on to our next biscuit, Paddington's birthday balloons, because no celebration would be right without balloons, or biscuits for that matter. For this one, we need to outline the balloons in different coloured line icing, which can sometimes be difficult, but just look at our finished version here and copy it. We have opted for the classic British colours, red, white and blue, but you can choose anything you fancy, even pink, yellow or green. We then need to flood each balloon. This can be tricky as you don't want the different flood icings to meet each other and run, but just go slowly and you will be fine. Once these balloons have dried, we can go back in with our line icing and add some more details. Things like the white on the balloon, which enhances the shape, the strings of the balloon, and of course the words Happy Birthday. As usual, just take this line icing really slowly and think of the piping bag like a pen. And there we have it, Paddington's birthday balloons are ready. Now, time for his favourite thing in the world, a marmalade sandwich, of course complete with a candle. Like before, we go around the outside of the biscuit with our white line icing. You will need to freehand the base of the sandwich here, but as we said for the previous biscuit, you can skip forward to the finish line ice biscuit of ours and just copy from there. You will then need to flood the sandwich with white icing and the plate with beige icing. You can of course choose a different coloured plate if you would like. Once that flood icing has dried, we will start with our candle. Take your blue line icing, or whichever colour you decided on for his candle, and draw a long, thin rectangle going towards the sandwich. And then fill this in by zigzagging your piping bag across the shape. We then added a flame for the candle in white line icing. For this you can just create a teardrop shape and follow the line of the candle at the end. Of course we want to make the candle look as realistic as possible, so with your white line icing just drag out some of the lines from the candle. We then added some decoration to the candle by drawing white lines across it to create a striped effect, but you could do dots. Now it's time to move on to the sandwich. With orange line icing, you will trace the outline of the sandwich. It sounds tricky, but just copy what we do here. We also added some crumbs on top, but you can do this as much or as little as you'd like. We also need to give the sandwich some filling, so with your brown line icing, trace across the middle of the sandwich. Our next step is to add some colour to your flame with the orange line icing and to fill in that filling with the same technique that you used for the candle. And of course, Paddington is known to be quite a messy eater, so we did have to add some filling falling out. And done! You've just iced Paddington's birthday cake. Now, we have left the hardest till last. We are going to ice Paddington himself. A lot of this is freehand work, so if you want to practice on a piece of baking parchment before, then please do. We go in with your black line icing and just take it very slowly. Like before, we would recommend flicking forward to see our finished product so that you can copy it from there. And there we go, you've done it. That was the hardest part, so well done for getting through that. We then want to flood each section of Paddington. Red for his hat, blue for his duffel coat, brown for his suitcase, and yellow for him. Once this flood icing is dry, we can move on to the details of him. Take your black line icing and outline all of his clothes, like we are doing here. Just take things really slowly and one step at a time. Even our icers need a moment to think about the next move, so we're sure you're doing brilliantly. Add little details like his sleeves, his collar, his buttons, the hat creases, and the outline of his suitcase. Of course, including his famous PB. Now, the part you've most likely been dreading. It's time to draw his face. Like before, just copy what we do and go very slowly. Start with his eyebrows, then his nose, then his mouth, and then his eyes. It all looks a bit weird until the final pipe of line icing, so please don't panic. And there we go, well done, you did his face. The very last thing that we'll do is just add buttons onto his duffel coat in yellow line icing. And well done, you've just created the ultimate Paddington collection. Our collection is now available to buy online and in store. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Tag us in your creations using the handle @Biscuiteers Ltd or use the hashtag Biscuiteers Magic. Happy creating, and of course happy birthday to Paddington Bear.